Hello there everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to take you along while I made chamomile honey 2 ways. It's probably no surprise to any of you, but I adore tea. As an herbalist, as a green witch, I find it is the perfect way to set intention throughout the day, to bring medicine into your daily life, and honestly, it's just deeply enjoyable to drink. As it's summer right now and the days are boiling hot, I have been making tea each morning to store and cool off in the fridge to later enjoy. And lately I have been really obsessed with hibiscus tea. It's kind of always my favorite, but it is especially a favorite of mine during these summer months. It's perfectly cooling and delicious. And my favorite thing to add to it is a bit of chamomile honey to sweeten it and bring on that wonderful flavor of chamomile. But I am completely out, and since I will be making chamomile honey in these 2 ways, I thought it was a perfect time to share them with you. Both methods are super simple and it's a perfect way to just add a dash of intention or flavor to your day. I will be using chamomile for this, but you're welcome to use any edible flower or herb that you wish to. You can find both of the methods I'll be talking about today in my book, The Green Witch's Guide to Herbal Magic. In there, I have a whole section on herbal honeys and syrups, a base recipe for anything that you wish to create, and I go into detail on how to craft infused honey in these 2 different ways, the long method and the hot method. One is a little quicker and the other is much longer and more traditional. Now, while I personally love each method and use both frequently, there are times where you would choose one over the other. The long herbal honey infusion takes at least a week, but preferably 4 weeks to be finished, so there's a lot of waiting time in there. It also requires a little bit of daily attention. It's not much, but it is something that you have to keep in mind over those next 4 weeks for the infusion to be perfect. But the hot honey infusion can be done in a day. But the downside to the hot honey infusion is that the heat, if not done carefully, can damage the honey and the benefits that you get from honey. If done carefully, the hot honey method will not damage, but I have personally found if you are desiring to protect the value of the honey, the longer infusion does this and also yields a more potent, flavorful result. So ultimately it comes down to how much time you want to dedicate to this project. Personally, I kind of just make both of them. I make the hot honey infusion when I want it quickly, and I make the long honey infusion when I am knowing that I will be enjoying the hot honey infusion in the meantime that one will be getting ready. Ideally, if you're like me and are adding honey to your tea all day, you'll have multiple going at once, but every now and again, I end up running out, and then I do both methods. So I'm excited to dig into this project with you. But first, this video is sponsored, so let's talk a little bit more about that. I used to really struggle with my focus when working or completing day-to-day tasks. That is, until I found Aura. Over the last few years that I've used Aura, it has served as a powerful tool for helping me to manage this issue. It's unlike any other app I've used, and is something I turn to frequently to ground and bring myself a sense of calm. And for the last year, I've been using the app to help me maintain focus while I work on writing my next book. Aura is an award-winning mindfulness and sleep app used by over 8 million people. It's an all-in-one app for your mental wellness and has everything you need for mental health in one place, including meditation, sleep tracks, hypnosis, therapy, CBT, life coaching, thousands of meditations, breathwork, and more. It also features expert content from therapists and coaches worldwide, meaning you'll have no need to download extra apps. Aura isn't one size fits all like most other apps. It's personalized just for you. It uses AI to learn what works best for you and gives you an experience that is tailored to your unique needs. It's like having a personal wellness coach in your pocket. Through Aura, I have curated a playlist of all my favorite tracks. Personally, I favor their soundscapes. They bring me so much peace and help me to maintain focus. So the playlist I want to share with you is a collection of my favorite nature soundscapes that I use to ground and focus throughout the day. With 30 tracks, you can challenge yourself to sit down to one each day of the month to immerse yourself in the different sounds of nature. It brings me so much peace to listen, and I hope it does the same for you. Plus, the setup
setup is so easy. From the very beginning, Aura starts learning your needs and content preferences so you can enjoy a tailored selection from track 1. Aura truly is the only app that has helped me better my focus and deepen my mindfulness. Through the years I've worked with it, it's been an absolute game changer for me, and I know it will be for you too. That's why I encourage you to join me on this 30-day challenge using my own Aura playlist equipped with the tracks I know you'll love. So if this sounds interesting to you, get started for completely free on Aura's website using my special link in the description. The first 500 people to use my link will get a free trial plus an exclusive 25% off. It's gonna go fast, so you might as well sign up now while you're thinking about it. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it.
Alrighty, welcome back. So the first method I want to talk about is the hot infusion, the faster one. Because even though it is the faster one, it will take more time to do today. So to begin with, let's talk about the materials and ingredients you'll need. For the materials, you'll need a knife or a mortar and pestle, a medium cooking pot, a stirring implement, a cooking thermometer, a tea towel or a fine mesh strainer, and a jar with an airtight lid. For the ingredients, you will just need 1 part dried herbs of your choosing, in this case chamomile, and 1 part raw honey. To begin, I recommend gathering your ingredients. Today I will be working with whole chamomile, and if you're doing the same, I would recommend that you grind it down in a mortar and pestle. If you don't have one, you are very much able to use a knife to chop it all down or grind it up in some other way. This is also optional. The flowers themselves will infuse, they just infuse a bit better when in smaller pieces. So that's where we begin. Because we want to use equal parts chamomile and honey, I recommend grinding your herbs down, then measuring them, just to make sure it's all equal. I do have a rather small mortar and pestle, so it does take me a little bit of time going back and forth to get the desired amount. First of 2 cups done. Now that this has 2 cups of ground chamomile, it's time to add the honey. Once you add the honey, it's time to pop it on the stove. There we will bring it up to heat very, very slowly until it reaches 100 degrees. We don't want it going over 100 degrees or it could damage the properties of the honey. So watch it carefully and make sure to pull it off right when it hits 100 degrees. Then we're gonna let it cool for an hour. During that cooling period, we're gonna come back and work on starting the long infusion. But first, let's get this one cooking. Make sure to stir consistently and watch that temperature. Once you reach your desired temperature, it's time to move it off the heat. Allow it to rest here for an hour and then repeat the process again. It is a very hot one today. I've just pulled the first round of the hot infusion off of the stove. Honestly, keeping it in the sun probably would have gotten it up to temperature, but I'm gonna keep it going this way. Now I'm gonna let it rest for an hour and then come back to it, repeat the same process, as I said before, 3 more times, for a total of 4 hot infusions. You can do it less or more. I do recommend just kind of tasting the honey as you work, seeing if you are enjoying the flavor that it is at. But that's all a matter of personal preference. But while we're waiting for that to cool off, to start over again, I want to work on the more traditional long infusion. And to do this, it is pretty much the same as you would the other infusion. We're gonna grind the herbs down, pour the honey over it, but instead of heating it up, we're just gonna cap it off and kind of look after it for the next 4 weeks. So to begin with, let's talk about the materials and ingredients you'll need. For the materials, you'll need a knife or a mortar and pestle, a stirring implement, a tea towel or a fine mesh strainer, and a jar with an airtight lid. For the ingredients, you will just need 1 part dried herbs of your choosing, in this case chamomile, and 1 part raw honey. First things first, I need to get to grinding the herbs, so let's do that. So here I have a little bit less than 2 cups of chamomile flowers, mostly because I am running low. Normally I would make these equal amounts, but it'll be all right. Now just to add the honey. Once you've added your honey, give it a nice stir, mix all the herbs together, and then clean around the edge and cap it off. You can use any jar that will seal well. I always use a glass jar, but it varies on the style, shape, all sorts of things. It really depends on which glass jars I have available, but that is my preferred. But all in all, doesn't matter all that much as long as you have it in a jar and combined. So now the long infusion is pretty simple. All you need to do is once a day, flip it over. This will help it to infuse. It's a good time to put intention into it if you want to make this a little bit more of a magical honey. But the most important part is to help it infuse. Some people like to keep their honeys in the sun. Others very much disagree and only keep them in cabinets. I think it's up to you. It's more important that the honey doesn't overheat. So the summer sun can be a little bit much for a honey. Typically in the summers, I like to keep them in a consistent cabinet, something that keeps temperature pretty evenly, but in the winters I like to keep it above my hearth so that it will be warmed by the fire. As it's summer, this will be going in my cabinet. Whew, it is not getting any cooler today. So now that's all set up. It'll be 4 more weeks till it's done. So now all I need to do to complete these honeys, for today at least, is to finish the hot infusion. Again, 3 more iterations, and I will check back in with you once I have completed that. But first, I need to open some windows in this place. Give me Graham! Up, up, up! Good boy. Alrighty, it is now the evening. I have infused this quite a few times, and it is time to transfer the honey into a different container. To do this, I like to strain through a fine mesh strainer. You can also go through a cloth, and usually I like to just put it into a bigger bowl that I can fit the mesh strainer into easily. This will take a pretty long time. The honey is slow to melt away from the herbs, and I recommend doing it in the sun because that will help heat it up a little bit and get it moving a bit quicker. So at this point, we just need to put the honey and the herbs into the strainer and be pretty patient. So let's do that. I'm going to be letting this strain overnight, and I will check back in with you tomorrow. The honey separated beautifully. I left this in the sun all day today. We ended up having kind of a chilly night last night, and so the honey didn't really melt from the flowers, so I left it in the sun and it worked perfectly. I don't know if you can quite see, but if you're having trouble like I was, especially with an herb like chamomile that is kind of difficult to strain the honey from, letting it warm up again, either in the sun or on the stove, can help. I've also heated up the honey in a double boiler situation. There's many different ways that you can achieve this depending on what is easiest for you, but the summer sun did the trick. Now just to transfer this honey into the jar that I will be keeping it in. Now with this all capped off, it's ready to use and be added to any tea to bring a hint of chamomile honey flavor. And one of my favorite things about making herbal honeys is that you don't have to get rid of these herbs afterwards. They can still be used to make a honeyed tea. They're absolutely delicious and will keep for quite a long time. They're kind of preserved by the honey. So I also like to keep those in a jar to use for teas later down the road. This has been such a wonderful project. I am so pleased with how the honey turned out. It is divine and I'm so excited to make my tea with it tomorrow. Even though there was a little bit of a hiccup with it, getting a little cold last night, it was perfectly able to strain all through today. Thankfully, the summer sun is very warm here, even though it might be a little too warm for my liking sometimes. This, it was very helpful for. If you want to follow along while I finish the other honey, feel free to on my other channel. There I will be documenting the finalizing of it and just probably some of the process day to day of, well, flipping it over. It's not too complicated, but it'll be fun to get it finished. For those of you wondering, the process of straining it is exactly the same as this. You really just have to be kind of patient while it strains through. Heat it up if you're having any trouble, but make sure you aren't heating it too high. But all in all, that's how you make herbal honey, specifically chamomile honey in my case, 2 ways. I do this frequently. I really feel that it adds not only flavor, but a good amount of intention to my day. I personally favor chamomile for its calming properties. I like having that kind of peace in my day, but you can work with any herb that is edible. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed. I've had a lot of fun and I'm looking forward to all of the new crafts that are to come. So now let's close out this video. If you can and would like to, I'd appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon. There I share art, herbal profiles, book recommendations, and monthly workshops. It's a ton of fun over there and it's really what keeps this channel rolling. So if you want to help support this channel, go ahead and check it out. I also have another channel where I share more day-to-day life, more magic, herbalism, all of those good things. And I also wrote a book. It's all about herbal magic and it'll bring the beginner to the intermediate. Also, it does have these honey recipes in it. So with that, thank you again for following along with me. I hope you're having a lovely day and I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye.